Raider Nation. Thank you for joining us on the Only Nation podcast, brought to you by the Raider Ramble. My name is Heidi, but you may know me as Kevlar Prom Dress or even Raider Ladybug. I'm here with Raider Homer and T3 Raider Facts, and we're ready to talk some Raiders football together.
Always ready to talk Raider football, especially since Derek Carr got me fired up.
Raiders football and a whole lot more, so strap in and be ready to go.
Oh yeah, today on the show, we start talking about training camp. We give you an update on Allegiant Stadium, and we catch up with the NFL Top 100 list.
Boo!
We're getting there. We'll get to that point.
Okay. All right. Too soon? All right. We would love to hear from you, Raider Nation. So here's how you can get in touch with us. Leave us a message on the Only Nation podcast voicemail line at 904-701-8667. That's 904-701-8667. Or you can also text us at that number. Our email address is onlynationpod@gmail.com. And we can also be found on Twitter and Instagram at onlynationpod. You can also check us out on Facebook and YouTube at The Only Nation Podcast. Be sure to like and subscribe to us on your favorite social media accounts and podcasting apps. Don't forget to send us a message with your name and address, and we'll get you some free Raider swag sent out to you. Also, check out our website at onlynationpod.com.
All right. In Raiders news, the Raiders have hit the field at Intermountain Healthcare Performance Center to begin 2020 training camp in Las Vegas, technically Henderson. Yes, the first thing that all the players did was they lined up for COVID testing. And running back Devontae Booker, he was the only one that apparently tested positive. He was placed on the reserve COVID-19 list, but he has since returned to the active roster. He was only on it for probably about, 4 or 5 days?
Something like that.
Yeah.
Right.
In light of Booker's placement on that list, though, the Raiders signed running back Jeremy Hill. But since Booker ended up back on the active roster, Hill got cut. He was on the roster for officially, 16 hours? Typical running back signing.
They brought him in length of a car inspection.
Yeah, remember when they did that with C.J. Anderson?
Yep.
Then he ended up in the Super Bowl. It was a good move for him. In order to do training camp, the NFL and the NFLPA came up with an agreement that allowed players to opt out of the 2020 season due to safety concerns over the coronavirus. Defensive back DJ Killings, defensive end Jeremiah Baloga, and linebacker Yukemi Eligwe, they have taken that option. So nobody that you've ever heard of before. They were going to get cut anyways. In other transactions,
my boy Derek Carr, he's not opting out.
He's not opting out. No, he isn't. He's got a lot to prove. He loves football. It's in his blood. In other transaction news, defensive tackle P.J. Hall. Well, they told him he was going to be released, but instead he got traded to the Vikings. He spent 2 seasons with the Raiders. He was drafted in the 2nd round out of Sam Houston State. Never lived up to his potential. Of course, he got to the Vikings and failed the physical. So he reverted back to the Raiders roster, and they waived him. So P.J. Hall is gone. The great experiment has failed.
Kudos to Mike Mayock, though, for trying to get something back. I like that. I like that Mayock is always looking to help improve the team. I mean, it shows that he's going to be an excellent GM for a long time in my mind.
Was it Mayock, or was it really just the Vikings being dumb?
Well, I guess maybe the Vikings figured a conditional 7th was probably worth taking a flyer on a guy like that. You never know. Maybe there's some connection, or somebody knew him from his time at Sam Houston State, or saw glimmers of hope or something within training camp in past years. But I'll tell you what, he gets my Chris Warren award for someone who kind of saw the writing on the wall and did nothing to improve his standing over the year. Mm-hmm. Came in fat and out of shape and just didn't do anything. So P.J. Hall gets my Chris Warren award for 2020.
Yeah, and it's a shame because physically he really had some potential. He had a fast 40. He had blocked 14 kicks in college. He had the potential. He showed flashes of it, but he really just gave up and decided to sit on the couch and eat peanut butter and jelly sandwiches.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely not what he should have done, but I would think that the Vikings were hoping that he would be able to pass their physical because you do have tape on him. With no preseason coming up, you don't have tape on a lot of these guys that you might have signed, that or as far as the undrafted free agents and things like that. So, they need people that you have tape on. That's, I think that's going to be important, this season because there's guys that you don't have tape on. You don't know what you're getting.
he was going to be given every option or every opportunity rather, to get that depth spot in the defensive line. So I think it was just a very wasted opportunity. I'm very upset with him, but he's rendering the consequences for his actions now. So maybe he picks up with another team, but he's got an uphill battle now.
Hopefully this is the wake-up call, and he ends up learning from it and being able to move on and still have a successful career, except for when he plays the Raiders.
I don't think the Raiders will ever have to worry to face him.
And why don't you tell us who else has been waived, Homer?
Well, Markel Lee has been waived. Defensive back Jordan Brown, tight end Paul Butler, kicker Dominic Eberle, center Eric Magnuson, linebacker Liam McCullen, and wide receiver Anthony Ratliff Williams. They were waived. A lot of transactions going on this week.
I think Paul Butler holds the records for being waived and re-signed in the National Football League over the past 2 years.
Yeah, I think he may also hold the record for short tenures with teams.
I'm kind of excited to see Mew step in for Lee, because Lee was playing outside, enough last season. I know there's Morrow's still in there, but I think this really does open up the door for Muse.
Oh, yeah, it definitely does.
Well, if you look at it, with the departure of Markel Lee now, our entire linebacking core is different.
Nicholas Morrow.
Yeah.
Well, Nicholas Morrow was never really a starter, and I don't think that Kyle Wilbur was either, looking at mostly special teams and then spot play here and there. I know that Morrow started, but pretty much he had to.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's going to open up the door for Muse.
Yeah, with Wilbur, that was just because of emergency. We didn't have any more bodies to throw out there.
I had to pull in Will Compton off the street.
Who actually did a good job.
He did.
And has a lovely podcast.
Oh, he does, yeah.
Was that Bussin' with the Boys?
I don't know. I haven't listened to it. I am excited about 9:20 a.m. Raider Nation Radio. That has some really good shows on it. That's what I'll be listening to.
That's cool.
You know that your boy Q's on there, right? TP?
Oh yeah, he's on there, and I've been in touch here and there with Scott G also.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, Silver and Black today.
Yeah,
they had a good show. JT the Brick. I'm glad that he's on the flagship radio station for the Raiders. He's got a really good radio show.
He's got lots of connections too.
Oh yeah, Karen knows him.
Yeah.
All right. Another news. Allegiant Stadium has reached substantial completion and received a certificate of occupancy on time as scheduled. Too bad we can't go there and watch the games.
And on budget.
Yep.
SoFi Stadium, $5 billion. Ours, right around $2 billion, just as planned.
All right, and while the stadium will be used for games, there will be no fans in attendance, as I just said, for 2020. That sucks, man.
Yeah.
I mean... there were a lot of fans that hoped that stadium didn't get built, and it got built, but hell, now we can't go in there. So I know a few of them that are laughing at it. But I really wanted to go this season. I wanted to see it. I bought the Legacy brick. I wanted to go badly, but we'll have to wait.
Well, it's probably going to be best because the NFL wanted to close off the first 6 or 8 rows. And those are all the premium seats that everyone paid the most money for. And where were the Raiders going to move those people to? There weren't any other seats to move them to. So are you going to tell your season ticket holders with the best tickets that they can't even go to the game? Or wait, here's some nosebleed seats? So in the end, it's probably for the best.
When we do go, though, oh, what a party it will be.
Yes, it will.
Oh, yeah. Well, I know that there's a lot of fans that are still planning to go to Vegas and, either meet outside of the stadium or meet somewhere around the stadium. Just because the Raider Nation loves the fellowship, we love to be around each other and party with each other and watch the games together, debate, all that.
Right.
So I'm thinking about going there opening weekend or opening game myself, catch up with Black Thanos and Cisco Ortega and the Black Hole in Las Vegas, Jersey, Raider Dirty Jers. I'm looking forward to it. All right. Tight end Darren Waller was named to the NFL's top 100 list at number 99. While running back Josh Jacobs joined Waller on the list at position number 72. Kyler Murray, the guy who supposedly beat out Jacobs for the Rookie of the Year award, he came in at 90. Why are we even talking about this?
Even the players knew Josh Jacobs was better.
And I'll tell you what, DC came out full in defense of his tight end. He said there's no way that there's...
Yeah, but he also questioned why wasn't Rodney on there? Why wasn't Trent Brown
Yeah,
on
absolutely.
Rodney for sure.
Yeah, Rodney Hudson has only allowed a few sacks over several, 3 or 4 years. That's an elite player. This list is full of crap.
Those two guys should have definitely been on the list.
And I think Derek Carr should have been on there too.
No, he shouldn't have.
Why not? Why not?
Because
if the defense could have stopped the Texans, if Key could have sacked Watson, we'd have won that game. All right? If the referees didn't screw us when we played Jacksonville when Carr slid, we'd have won that game. All right? When we were playing Denver at the 1, I think Renfro was in. That was so bang that they called it on the field a touchdown. They should have just left it alone. That would have put us at 10-6, when nobody thought we were going to win at all.
Is Carr one of the top 4 or 5 quarterbacks in the league?
Nope.
Okay, there you go.
Hey,
the top 100 list.
I still think he's great. But is Rodney Hudson? Name 4 other centers that are better than Rodney Hudson on that list.
I agree. Rodney Hudson should
totally
absolutely be on
this list. Is crap. It's hogwash.
But you look at the list. There's 22 positions, and there's 100 slots. So that means about the top 4 or 5 people should be from each position should be on that list. Derek Carr is not a top 4 or 5 quarterback. He's middle of the road. He's a good quarterback. He's an NFL quarterback. So, of course, he has talent.
I'll be honest with you. Kyler Murray did not belong on that list. I know he's an electrifying player, but
he's on there.
Yeah, I know.
It's a popularity contest.
I know it is. He's an electrifying player.
It's just for people to watch and buy NFL Network.
His team finished 4-9-1 or whatever.
But he was on there. Is he better than Carr?
Maybe a touch, but not much.
Yeah. Is he just yes or no?
I would say no, simply because Carr has more experience.
I would agree.
So then why is Carr not on this list?
Because he's not one of the top 4 or 5 quarterbacks in the league.
Yeah, I don't think either one of them belong on the list.
But Kyler Murray isn't either.
Right, I agree.
But he was given the rookie of the year.
All right, moving on, right? moving on. Which Josh Jacobs should have won.
Did Nick Bosa deserve to be 17 and Max Crosby deserve to not even be on the list? No.
It's because this list is full of crap. I'm saying if Kyler Murray was on there, Derek Carr should have been on there.
Players are buried in their Madden.
Well, whatever. I'm a Raider fan. I should be used to it now. We get no respect. You know what I mean? Anyway, Forbes has named the Raiders as the 26th most valuable team in sports and the 12th most valuable team in the NFL with an estimated worth of $2.9 billion. Take that, Mark Davis haters. Way to go, Mark Davis. Way to go.
That's my boy. You're my boy, Blue.
I just wonder how quickly the Raider franchise would have escalated in terms of value if Al Davis had been able to bring the Raiders to Vegas many years ago.
About as fast as it did under Mark.
Yeah, they're doing it now, so that's good enough. Well, in a recent article for Bleacher Report, Christopher Knox named Raiders wide receiver Hunter Renfrow as the secret weapon for 2020. Can't say I argue with that. Expect him to build on his final 7 games of the 2019 season, where he put up 35 catches for 490 yards and 4 touchdowns. While he's unlikely to repeat his 14 yards per reception average, it wouldn't be a shock to see him catch 5 passes per game this season. And given just how reliable he is, expect Carr to target him on high leverage down and distances. You heard the term third and Renfro a lot last year. That may become a staple phrase in 2020. Now, Renfro won't carry the Raiders' offense this season, but he could be the perfect complement to players like Waller and Ruggs and Jacobs, and I wouldn't count out Witten early on. Look for number 13 to potentially catch 60 or more passes this season.
I'm ready for it.
So also, tight end Foster Moreau was named as a top 25 young breakout prospect by ESPN. Although he played only 371 snaps last year before ending up on injured reserve, he was still able to put up 6 touchdowns. Now, with the signing of Jason Witten, Moreau's role for this year is a bit more up in the air than it probably should be. John Gruden loves tight ends, but among Moreau, Witten, and Darren Waller, he has a lot of potential pass targets. At the very worst, though, this season can be sold as Moreau learning from an all-time great, and he should be a solid tight end going forward. Like Waller, Moreau is a fantastic athlete and hasn't even come close to reaching his ceiling yet. If he can continue to improve as a blocker, He has all the tools to become one of the best number 2 tight ends in all of the NFL. So look for Moreau to play near starter-level snaps for the Raiders, rotating in and out in 2 and maybe even 3 tight end sets. And that's the story on Foster Moreau.
All right, and how about we hear the story on Heidi's High Five?
All right, so here's this week's version of Heidi's High Five. Number one of the things that Coach Gruden mentioned in his presser earlier in the week is the fact that the team only ranked 31st in turnover differential last year. I keep pointing back to one of the big contributing factors towards success back in the 2016 season was the ability for the Raiders to make their opponents turn the ball over. An increase in ball hawking playmakers can translate to more success in that key statistical category, which could easily end up pushing the win total by 2 to 3, which would put the team at 9 to 10 wins. Number two, another thing that Gruden mentioned was probably the single biggest offseason pickup, and that was Coach Rod Marinelli on the defensive side. I think the defensive alignment and scheme, bringing in guys who can implement and maintain pressure and eliminating those stupid jumping off sides penalties will all go a long way toward helping that defense get off the field a little more quickly, and that will translate to fewer points given up. Number three, I said last week that I was going to mention my camp overachievers and underachievers this week. Well, even though camp hasn't really cranked up yet, I'm going to give you my 2 overachievers. They are Marcus Mariota and Derek Carr. Yes, I know these guys are both competing for the same spot, but I think as they both settle into the offense and realize their own strengths, it can only make the Raider organization better. Derek's the guy at the beginning, but if you remember way back in 1980 when Coach Tom Flores sat Jim Plunkett down and said, just be ready. Well, it's time to resurrect that message and lay it in the lap of Mr. Mariota. Number 4. Now, as far as my underachieving camp bodies, I know this wasn't going to seem fair, and I was going to mention P.J. Hall earlier, but P.J. Hall is no longer on the team, so we can't really deal with that. So when I look at underachieving camp bodies, I'm going to mention 2. So the first one I'm going to mention is Daniel Carlson, our kicker. So with the recent release of Dominic Eberle, who I thought was really going to pressure and compete for that kicking job, I hope that hasn't stolen some of the fire from Mr. Carlson. He's going to go out and do his stuff, but he won't have that hot breath on the back of his neck. Carlson has to just keep his head down and make those kicks. Now, my other underachiever is Nevin Lawson. Enough with the suspensions. You have so much potential, but there are a lot of hungry guys behind you. If you don't get off to a great start, Mr. Lawson, I'm afraid you're going to get lost in the shuffle. Focus on game film, get yourself in shape, and make yourself available. And number 5, Jeremiah Veloga, DJ Killings, and Ukemi Aligwe. I don't know whether these guys were being smart, overly cautious, or just got some really good advice from their agents, but all 3 chose to opt out of playing in 2020 and earn themselves a $150,000 stipend. Not bad if your chances of making the roster are pretty slim. We'll see if there are or were any more opt-outs before the deadline passes. Oh, and in related news, I was not at all surprised to see Eddie Vanderdoes opt out for the year over in Houston. Mr. Non-Existent, back when he was with the Silver and Black, continues his tradition of being a name on the roster and an imaginary place on the field. And that is this week's version of Heidi's High Five.
Burn on Eddie. I'm not surprised either, though.
I saw that and I thought, oh, okay, there he is.
Yeah, finding new and improved ways to not do anything and get money.
Correct.
I wouldn't mind learning how to do that from him. He could probably teach me quite a bit.
Yeah, might make you a $150,000 stipend for the year.
I'll be his agent for only 10%.
There you go.
You know who didn't opt out?
Derek Carr.
Yep.
My boy, Derek Carr. Hey, you know he's got a kid on the way, right? Didn't we talk about that last episode or a few episodes ago? Man, I tell you what, as an essential worker, when a single father, I'm damn proud to have that man be my quarterback. I mean, today's athletes need to look at that man and say, that's how I need to be. I mean, what a true leader. What a dedicated player. What a true Raider, man. 19 fourth quarter comebacks since he came into the league. Build a team around this young man. I don't need him to be top 4 quarterback. Just build a team around him and win me a Super Bowl, and I love it. That's all I need.
I'll tell you what else he is. Hungry.
That's right. That's right. He is absolutely hungry. He said it. He has a lot to prove, right? All these other guys, whatever, right? They have just as much to prove. Like you said, Andy Vanderdoes. He had a lot to prove. He didn't give a shit. Man, I'm damn proud. You know what? When I sworn off jerseys because of assholes like AB. All right, but I tell you what, I damn near want to go back and buy a Derek Carr jersey again. Mine got stolen in Oakland when I went there week 1 to see them play against Denver. When Gruden got his 100th win, with Derek Carr at the helm. So but I damn near want to go buy another one. But I think I'm gonna wait until we win a Super Bowl or he retires a Raider. But man, am I proud of that man. That's a man right there, man.
Well, I think it says something about his character that I never even thought that he would give opting out a second thought.
Well, but imagine if, like, Michael Crabtree had the same character and didn't fight over a necklace. Imagine if Amari Cooper had the same character and didn't just quit and act like he didn't even want to be a Raider. You know what I mean? Imagine if Bruce Irvin had the same character and put in as much work as he did. Imagine if we had a team full of Derek Carrs. Derek Carr, you could say he's middle of the pack, but it's not. I mean, he's putting up 4,000 yards. You could say, oh, that's check down, but we just drafted a guy that in Ruggs that excels at intermediate passing. And now we got Josh Jacobs. You going to tell me checking down to Josh Jacobs is a mistake?
No.
I don't think I ever said that.
I didn't say you. I'm just saying in general, people say that. People were bitching about him checking down. Get check down, Carr. If it ain't there, don't force the ball. Check down to Josh Jacobs because that's exactly what you want to do. All right? You want to get it to a guy that can run and make people miss, and then you don't have to force the ball down the field. All right, now look, I know a lot of people that don't like Derek Carr. They said he needs to go deep. The NFL doesn't quite work like that anymore. It's intermediate passing, then your guys got to break free. You got to scheme your guys and move your guys around to get mismatches, to pull that safety off of his zone. You got to pull that safety out of his zone and make him think one thing while you're thinking another thing, and you just wait till he falls. He falls for it.
Here's a problem too: when you have 3rd and 6 and you have an inexperienced receiving core, and your check down guy only runs a 5-yard pattern, that's going to be a problem.
Who is the best? We've been talking about Derek Carr being in the middle of the pack. What elite wide receiver has he ever had? James Jones was probably the best wide receiver he ever had, but he was an older gentleman when he came into the league. Yeah. Or came to play with us.
He was an aging number 1.
Jared Cook, right?
Yeah.
Let me ask you something, and I'm not going to go too far on that, but how good was Jared Cook's season, his first season with the Saints compared to his last season with the Raiders? Do you know the numbers? Can we look the numbers up?
I don't think it was anywhere close because, I mean, he was clearly Carr's number 1 target. Okay,
so Derek Carr made him look, Derek Carr and him were a good combination, right? And Derek Carr is partly responsible for him getting that big-ass contract, right? Mm-hmm. And then he went to a team where Drew Brees can distribute the ball because he has weapons everywhere.
Right. Absolutely.
So, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, I would say the probably the best number 1 receiver that Carr has had, it has been Cook and Waller.
Yeah.
I mean, Waller is actually a freak of a wide receiver. They just put him at tight end.
Yeah, I know. That's why I was hoping to see him, and you can still see it, especially now that Gruden wants to run these 3 tight ends. You can see Waller, lining up at tight end and then motioning out. I think that would really help the offense too.
Crabtree was his number 2, but he was the guy that Carr then always started to go to.
But he was a clown. In the end, he fought over a necklace.
I would say Cooper had the ability. He just didn't want to do it.
Right.
Both of those guys had a lot of drops. So how much, and I know numbers don't necessarily mean anything unless they're wins, but at the same time, maybe we, like again, in Houston, right? Even after Watson broke the tackle from Key and then made a touchdown pass that went over the fingertip of the damn linebacker, right? It was so tight that it got in there, right? But then we had the ball and we could have moved on and got into field goal position, right, to win the game. Isn't that what it was? But Williams dropped the ball.
Oh yeah,
a couple of times.
Yeah, he had 2 critical drops during the 4th.
And people want to trash Derek Carr about the Jacksonville game. People come and tell me, man, people were booing and throwing nachos at him and shit. Where was the defense, man?
Yeah,
we had to lead that whole game.
Well, we got screwed on that call.
We did.
But then, we got royally screwed.
But then the defense did not make a play at all. You had a couple of guys jump off sides. I think Curtis Riley had 2 offsides penalties, and just there was an interference penalty. I mean, there was a lot of just sloppy play, and they let him right back in the game.
How does a safety get 2 offsides
in a row?
Yeah. I don't miss him.
Nope.
Even though he is a Bulldog, I still don't miss him.
Not at all.
We don't have a lot of wins under Derek Carr, but he has 19 fourth-quarter comebacks, man. You know how hard that is to do as a quarterback with wide receivers that drop the ball all the time or they're old? He's tough. He broke his pinky, right, and still played. And then the same year, he broke his ankle. The only year that he broke the playoff curse from us, but damn it if the football gods weren't cruel that year. And then the next year, he breaks his back. And, you know, you can say what you want, but, I mean, that was all on the offensive line. Yeah. That team, that offensive line failed the entire organization, and that is why that team was dismantled. But he came back. He only missed, what, 2 games?
2 games.
That is tough. Yeah. That is tough, man. That's the kind of guy you want. And here's a guy saying, I got a lot to prove. He knows that he's got a lot to prove, you know, but you know that he will come back from injury and play injured. You know that he puts the team first, and you know that he wants to win for the Raider Nation. I love it. I love it, man. Look, I'm pumped up again because I've been looking at these players opt out and everybody defending them and saying, well, they got family. Well, Derek Carr has family and I got family. And then they would send me this hypothetical situation. Well, if you had the opportunity, you would opt out too. Well, guess what? I'm not living a hypothetical life right now. I'm living reality. And I love the fact that our leader, our team leader, is risking everything for us. And people need to realize that if Gruden didn't truly believe in Carr, and he's seen a lot of good quarterbacks, he would trade Carr's ass as quick as he traded Khalil Mack and Amari Cooper. So there is something to be said for that in itself.
I detect a little bit more fire and optimism in our boy than he had last week. What do you think, Heidi?
Are you talking about Homer or DC?
Homer's on fire.
Yeah, Homer was kind of bummed last week.
I've been bummed the last couple of weeks, man.
He's got some fire.
Yeah. No, man, that's what I've been waiting for. That's what I've been hoping for, is that somebody on our team steps up and becomes a leader, man, and doesn't forget about the everyday people out there risking their lives that have to go to work. You know, he wants to look, man. I think and you know, there's a lot of hate going on right now for him too, man. But this is great, and he's gonna win. Like I said, there were 3 games that we can list easily that we should have won those.
As long as Derek Carr is on the roster, I can guarantee you he will never give up. He will always give his best effort, and he will be a true Raider. That I can guarantee.
Yeah, fair enough.
To me, that's everything you want in a player. Period. You know, period. He's not going out. He's not drinking and partying. He's not going to strip clubs and bringing back COVID to the team. He's practicing hard, and he's going home and taking care of his family.
There were a few times last year where it seemed like he really lost a lot of his fire. It really did. That fire in his eyes just wasn't there. So hopefully it stays this year.
I mean, you can't do it all by yourself, you know. Josh Jacobs was in and out of the lineup towards the end of the year. You know, I think he missed, 3 games?
Yeah.
Terrell Williams, he was out for 4 or 5 games, and he came back, and he was still injured. So kudos to him, too, for being tough. You know, then by that time, Darren Waller was double-teamed. But this is the bottom line. It takes a team. It takes a team to win. And it takes a team leader to lead a team. And Derek Carr is a team leader. And I think that the Raider Nation just needs to back off a little bit, you know. People are calling for Mariota to start. Look, if you go and read articles on Mariota, man, it almost reads the exact same as Derek Carr, all the way to them getting injured on the same day. That there was multiple changes at the coaching position, and that he really never had a fair opportunity. But the difference between Mariota and Carr is that Carr was available faster than Mariota was after his injuries, and Carr was smart enough, not that Mariota's not smart, but Carr was smart enough in football sense or whatnot, that he could learn these multiple offenses and still put up good numbers, right? In 2016, that was only his second season under Musgrave. You know, and every year that he came in or every year that he's quarterback for John Gruden, he's thrown for 4,000 yards. Like John Gruden, man, you've seen the highlights of his terminology. That shit has got to be super complicated. And he's demanding about how you deliver it in the huddle because he pays attention to details. You know, and Carr has the football mind to handle that. And you know what? Another thing is people say he needs to run a little bit more, but let's all go back to New Orleans when he dove over the linebacker, and we all were like, oh, man, he shouldn't be doing that kind of stuff. All right? That's the same kind of play that he was trying to make Of course, he wasn't jumping over somebody, but he was trying to give it his all when he dropped the ball at the one and those 2 times, and it turned into a touchback. Should he have just ran out? Yes. But that's not Derek. Derek he's got that Mamba mentality. You know, he does. That's why he has 19 fourth quarter comebacks since coming into the league. Mariota doesn't have that. You know, and Carr took the team to the playoffs. He took them. But hey, we ended up with Connor Cook playing in the playoffs. That's how far south that season went.
Well, that's what happens when you have Jack Del Rio as your head coach.
I'm not gonna be mad at Del Rio. He broke the playoff drought.
I still had some hope at that point.
Well, we all had hope in McClellan, but yeah, then he gets hurt the next game. You know, what happened to the offensive line? Basically from, that Indianapolis game, and then we came back and we went 2-0, I guess, but then in the Washington game, and it was it. That was over. But I don't know. Maybe we should just move on.
Yeah, I was about to say that.
All right, Raider Nation. Give us a call and tell us how you feel about Derek Carr, right? That's a hot topic right now. We want to hear from y'all. Give us a call at 904-701-8667. Leave us a voicemail or a text message at that number, or send us a message via social media, and we'll share your thoughts.
All right. Hey, Homer, did you know?
All right, in this week's version of Hey Homer, Did You Know? Now, this is something that you probably both might know, but I'll pull that anyway. Now, back in 1969, John Madden took over the Raiders and guided them to a 12-1-1 record and a division championship in his first year as head coach. And he was the unanimous choice by the Sporting News as the AFL Coach of the Year. But did you know that Madden only finished second in the voting for the more prestigious AP Coach of the Year award? In the final year of the separate AFL, the guy who won the award was Paul Brown, legendary Paul Brown. So let's take a look at Brown's accomplishments. He came back after having been ousted in Cleveland, and Cincinnati started play in 1968. Their first year, they posted a record of 3-11. They were next to last in points scored and 6th out of 10 teams in points given up. So there must have been a miraculous turnaround in 1969, right? Well, in 1969, the Bengals finished with a 4-9-1 record, a game and a half better, and they finished last in the Western Division. Only 2 other teams in the AFL had worse records. But as it turns out, there was a campaign underway to stick it to Al Davis because of how it was perceived that he ran John Rouse, the previous Raiders coach, out of town and installed a young assistant coach, Madden, to be Al's puppet. Giving Madden the award, although he deserved it, would have given credit to Al Davis, which none of the AP writers wanted to do. And so they gave the award to the only coach who actually beat him on the field that year, Paul Brown, kind of a lifetime achievement award, if you will. Now, you could say the us against the world mentality started earlier, but this is a clear case of how a vast majority of the sports world wanted nothing more than just screw Al Davis and the Raiders, despite the fact that they made it to the AFL championship each of the last 3 years of the league's existence before the merger, and then made it to the first AFC championship game after the merger. So I asked Homer, did you know?
No, I did not know, T3, but I'll tell you what, this is why I love you being a part of this podcast, because I learn a lot about Raider history, man. So I appreciate you, coming up with these segments every week, man. I do enjoy this.
It's us against the world.
Haters gonna hate.
Yeah, we all knew that. Yeah, they don't like to give us any more credit than they have to. All right, and that brings us to our best segment of the show.
Cue that music
that I came up with.
Believe it or not, I'm walking on air. I never thought I could feel so free. Flying away on a wing and a prayer. Who could it be?
This week's Heidi's hero is a relative newcomer to Raider Nation. Fullback Alec Ingold has been working to inspire young high school and college athletes to continue grinding and working on their craft, even if their season might not take place due to the pandemic. While his motivational work now takes place on social media, originally his efforts included actually meeting with the schools and athletes. Raiders.com writes, Ingold's initiative has resulted in several high schoolers reaching out to share how his message motivated them to get in the weight room an extra day or tune out the negativity that they're hearing around them. Ingold wants to ensure that he touches the lives of these kids by making them feel like their voice is heard and that they aren't alone during this difficult time in their lives. Alec Ingold is a young man stepping up to lead other young athletes as they face possibly life-changing obstacles. He's helping them get through it, and that's what makes him a Heidi's hero.
I love this. I've been ranting about Derek Carr's character. Alec Ingold has some character to do this, to give back to his community, directly, or the community directly. Yeah, a lot of athletes do this. Don't get me wrong, Derek Carr's not the only one, but not enough. Not enough set good examples anymore. And you know what? I think it speaks a lot to what Gruden and Mayock are doing, what kind of culture they're trying to build. And I'm very much happy about this. I'm very much happy about the kind of culture that they are trying to create here, in Las Vegas. Yeah, I'm just excited, so kudos to Alec Ingold.
There's a lot of guys on the team I would love to have on the podcast, but Alec Ingold is one I would absolutely love to have join us.
Oh, yeah, he'd be great.
Yeah. And Derek Carr. I really want Derek Carr to join us.
That'd be nice.
Oh, we'd be shooting for the stars on that one. Homer would be total fangirl, though.
Oh, yeah.
We wouldn't be able to get a coherent sentence out of him.
I interviewed Tom Flores.
Yeah, but we all idolize Tom Flores, but you would go fangirl. But I can't blame you.
You hurt my feelings.
You're tough.
Yeah, I can suck it up.
You can tough it out.
Yeah, you are a tough man.
In fact, I believe you can tough it out and give the fans all the information about how to get in touch with us.
Well, she's supposed to thank our listeners first.
Well, I was going to, but then T3 kept talking. Thanks again to our listeners for joining us on the Only Nation podcast.
Now you can go.
And Raider Nation, we want to hear from you. We really want to hear from you. We want y'all to engage in these conversations with us. Let us know how you feel. Maybe you have some points that we're not thinking of, some ideas that we're not thinking of. And like I said, we'd love to hear from you. So leave us a voicemail or send us a text message at 904-701-8667. That's 904-701-8667. You can also email us at onlynationpod@gmail.com, and you can find us on Twitter and Instagram at onlynationpod. We are also on Facebook and YouTube under the Only Nation Podcast. So be sure to like and subscribe to us on all your favorite social media accounts and podcasting apps. And don't forget to send us a message with your name and address, and we'll get you some free Raider swag sent out to you. Also, check out our new website at onlynationpod.com.
Until next time, everyone, go Raiders.
Go Raiders.
Stay strong, stay safe, and go Raiders!